Hello again, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to actually do Zack Snyder DCEU films. I already did watch them a few weeks ago, and while I've been changing computers and stuff, I've been watching the Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Justice League on 4K because I've got them really cheap. I didn't spend much on them. They're fairly easy to find cheap now, and I went a bit 4K crazy when I first got 4K, so these were not the smartest buys, but I did it. But I kind of enjoyed them after watching them, and I thought it'd be worth doing a video on them. Especially we're going to get the Snyder Cut. That much mocked concept of a Snyder Cut. You know, it is going to come out pretty soon. I think next year, of Justice League, so that's coming. I'm actually looking forward to see what it is, because after watching the Justice League in 4K, I've got some things to say about it. I'm not sure if I even covered Justice League. I'm not really sure if I even did a video on there. I did a video on Batman v Superman after I saw it, but that was a theatrical cut. I've now seen the extended version, which is a better version. So I'll just get started. Right. Zack Snyder was brought into the DCEU to start it up with Man of Steel. Now, the Christopher Nolan idea of how to do Superman, because Superman had done Superman Returns, which had not been a big success financially. It did okay, but it hadn't been as big a hit as they'd hoped. Mainly because people thought there wasn't enough Superman action in it. It was a Superman film without tons of action. Even though Brandon Routh was terrific as Superman, he was really well cast. And I liked the film a lot, actually. It didn't really deliver what people wanted. So people were thinking, what are we going to do with Superman? Now, I think you could have did a decent Superman sequel from there and actually did more actiony stuff without a problem. But they decided to reboot it anyway. You know, so that's where they went. I mean, Superman Returns was made by Bryan Singer, who's very controversial these days, for various reasons. So I think this Superman Returns is now not looked upon. He looked upon even worse now than it did at the time, even though because of Singer's reputation. So Snyder came in, and this is just after he'd done Watchmen and 300, which are both 300 was a big hit. So was the Dawn of the Dead remake. Watchmen wasn't a big hit, but it was well respected. I think there's a lot of problems with Watchmen, but a lot of people liked it. So it's like, that's my opinion is different from others, but it doesn't matter. Then he made Sucker Punch, which is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. It's so terrible. It's so awful. It's one of those films I'm going to watch for, what the hell is this video soon? I've got it for that, so it's coming. But yeah, he did a really terrible film there. And so then he's brought into this, and I was like, why? After Sucker Punch, why would he have for this film? And they brought in David S. Goyer to write it, he's kind of a controversial figure. He wrote the Blade films, directed the terrible third one, and he did the stories for the Dark Knight trilogy, but Christopher Nolan came in and rewrote a lot of it, because he was director. But Goyer gets a lot of credit for that, even though it feels much more like a Nolan film. But who knows how much he contributed and how much he didn't. He was always involved somewhere, but that seemed much higher quality than his other things he'd been involved with, which made people think, how much did he really do this, because his other stuff's not as good as this. So, I mean, apart from Blade 2 is awesome. That is Guillermo del Toro. Anyway, so he wrote Man of Steel, and from what Nolan suggested to do Superman, to do the idea of Superman, what would it be like if Superman actually came down to Earth? How would we actually react to him and stuff like that? So doing a new origin story but make it darker and more cynical. So Zack Snyder came in, he impressed him with his pitch apparently, and he got the job to do the new Superman. So we're going to recast Superman, we're going to do everything, recast all the parts, and we're going to bring it up to date with a David S. Goyer script, with Christopher Nolan producing, and this was going to be a new art house version of Superman, a film that had a lot of action but was also artistic and all the rest of it. Even though Sucker Punch had just come out and everyone hated it. So the film, I had cynicism about the film, to be honest. I was like, I like this Superman Returns, why do you have to remake it? Some of the stuff Goyer and Zack Snyder came out with at the time were just annoying as hell. They were fairly smug about it in some of the press, and it was very annoying to watch. It was unnecessarily annoying. They'd always managed to put their foot in their mouths at any opportunity. So that put me off the film before I even saw it. And I never even saw it when it was on release. I watched it later because it annoyed me so much in the press. So the film came out, and I saw it later, and I kind of enjoyed it more than expected, but I knew why people hated it. And the thing is about these films now is, because they're no longer the direction they're going to go in with Superman, like they're course corrected away from them, you now look at these as an era of Superman on their own without having to think, oh no, these are the way it's going to go forever. It's not. Enough people didn't like it and say, okay, this is not suitable, we have to adjust it somehow. Even though Henry Cavill's apparently coming back as Superman, it's probably going to be a lot lighter films, will probably be a lot less neurotic and things. Because the thing that even we watch the Superman film, this new Superman film, it comes out across as Zack Snyder is not good at hope. He cannot do hope, and Superman's all about hope, and that's a problem. You're doing this character and you can't get the hope side of it out. But that disadvantage is also an advantage in some ways. If you're looking at the film as an alternative take on Superman, a darker take on Superman, that's not trying to be Christopher Reeve. So it's a little side avenue. And if you look at it that way rather than being the new reinvention that's going to be there forever, it's fun. If you look at it as like the new version of Superman, it's annoying because it misses so much of what Superman is. So I think it actually looks better now than it did then, because now we know it's not going to be the thing that's going to go forward. So that helps the film a lot, because you can look at it as what it is rather than what you hope they don't do in the future. So the film it starts off in Krypton, a new Krypton that's very influenced by the Matrix. Zack Snyder seems to love the Matrix. So he loves slow-mo, he loves all these weird things about fascist regimes and collapsing civilizations and mankind collapsing into itself. Very Matrix influenced. You know, that's just the way it is. Everyone has influences. It's not like I'm mocking, but he does like his slow-mo a bit too much. The Wachowskis are much better at using slow-mo for understanding when to use it and when not to use it. Zack Snyder uses it a lot. A hell of a lot. Even when you really don't need it. But that's just his style. So you get used to that. It's just the way it goes. But he likes slow-mo, he likes all that stuff. But he made his film, and it shows the baby from getting sent away from Krypton, shows Michael Shannon General Zod, who's no Terrence Stamp. State out loud, everyone knows it. It wasn't as good as Terrence Stamp or Superman 2 in general. Because, I mean, the second half of this movie is basically what would happen if they made Superman 2 without any of the wit, any Richard Lester stuff. And so, he follows Superman, finding out his powers and finding... But they do go back and forward in time when he's already on Earth with his powers, but he hasn't become Superman yet, and then he's flashing back and forward to showing him how he's dealing with it. And that's the best bit of the film, frankly. It's the best bit. It's the bit that's most interesting, the most human side of him. It's the bit where you're most sympathetic towards him. But the big problem with this film is they never get a grip on Superman. So I like Henry Cavill, actually. He's fun in a lot of films, and he's trying his best, but he's actually... The big problem with him in these films is he's working with scripts that don't deliver for him. Like, they never seem to deliver the scripts that work on what he's good at. it's like they're forcing him into like scenarios that are only half thought out half the time, and he does his best, and he's professional. He does a decent job of it. He's an enjoyable Superman, but he's never allowed to be who he should be. I mean, they don't mean if you look at some Man from U.N.C.L.E., there's a lot of charm. The same with Mission Impossible movie he was in. Even as a villain, he had a lot of charm in that as well. It's like Superman's a bit of charm as well, and why does he no attempt to do that? Because I try to be serious, but it kind of it's a problem when you take so much that away from the actor and never give him a chance to shine. You keep getting told he's a beacon of hope. They don't have a limit to actually act the beacon of hope. You're just told that. Anyway, back to the film. He shows Superman learning those skills, and there's kind of Malik influence in little bits, but not that much. Not enough to scare Warner Brothers, just little shots here or there. Kevin Costner's his dad, Diane Ladd's his mum. His dad dies, as it happens always in Superman films. And then you see him basically coming to the fore. People are starting to recognise there's some guy helping people. He finds a ship that actually shows him who he is, and he gets his cape and stuff. He starts to learn his skills. And that's when General Zod finds Zack's signal. Zod escapes from the Phantom Zone, comes down to Earth, and he wants to replace Earth with a new Krypton. With this, he's got this terraforming machine. So he's got all these gods, all these Kryptonians who are slowly learning how to become sort of Supermen themselves. And Superman has to defeat them. And that's the second half of the film, is Superman learning to defeat them. Except everything happens in about half an hour. It's what should be a whole movie is the last half hour of this film. And they destroy a massive city. And even though these people learn how to be Supermen, only about 2 or 3 minutes ever learn that stuff. The rest of them are just cannon fodder. Which means Superman doesn't have to be that great. He just has to learn how to blow stuff up and to kill Zod. To the end, really. So he commits genocide in his own people. And that's never brought up again in the films. That's a problem. When you don't acknowledge the most important thing that happened at the end of the film. But he saves the humans, but it is basically set something up and then they do not deliver on it. Because it's another film's worth of material and they suddenly can't do that. And they don't find a clever way to just defeat these people and have them away and not kill them. No, he has to kill them all, and he has to. And it just feels very dark for the sake of being dark. And it's like, oh, we've been serious. We're blowing all this stuff up and we're destroying half the city. And it's like, why? It's Superman, you're meant to be. There's more fun than this. That's the problem with Man of Steel. It's like, you're going in for a Superman film that's not delivered to you. It's becoming this thing of, didn't you always want to see cities destroyed in Superman? And it's like, not really. A few buildings, yeah, but you don't need to destroy everything. And this film destroys everything. And it becomes this thing of this overkill. By the end of it, you're like, oh, please stop blowing stuff up. Just give me a story, please. See, even in 4K, actually the film works better because you can see all the details of what's happening. You see all the little details in the set and what's happening during the fights, which is very blurred when you watch it on TV because the resolution, and sometimes you can't tell what the hell's going on and why things are happening. And even with 4K, you can see stuff is happening. It's like, why is that happening? It's just this thing where it's just too much. It should have been a longer film. It's like they had to squash so much into the final act that it's like, it's kind of like David Lynch's Dune, really, where it's so much story that they didn't have enough time to tell any of it. And it's that kind of film. It's that kind of messy thing, and I still enjoyed it because I like Henry Cavill's Superman, even though he's never got the scripts for it. You know, I don't think what's happened there was his fault. I think he was doing his best, but you'd introduce something, then it wouldn't really be delivered on. Then you'd go to somewhere else, and it's like there was never any consistency to it, and he was always asked to fill in the gaps of what was a script that wasn't finished. Because this film has been in, I think, everyone knowing the final act had problems and no one ever solved the problem in the final act. At least blew stuff up and hoped you'd be so impressed with the explosions you wouldn't think about it too much. Like, there's all these Supermen around, why are they all fighting them? I've never worked that one out. Because General Zod eventually learns how to fight. And it's like, why did no one else develop these powers? Didn't they all just jump off the ship and you have tons of problems? So why did they all stick in one ship? It doesn't make sense. Anyway, that's Man of Steel. It's a mess. It's a lot better than Sucker Punch, but it didn't really. It had ambitions, and all the actors are trying. They're all trying to make a really good dark Superman film, and it's entertaining, but lacks a kind of aspirational touch, and it's just too violent, really. But as a dark Superman story, it's quite enjoyable to see how you can take the story in a different way. For a very genocidal way. So I kind of like it. I actually like it a lot more this time than I have ever before. But it's not perfect, it's a very flawed film. But I think it's still fairly acceptable as a different take on Superman. It's not the best one. I still think Superman 2, the Richard Lester version, is the best Superman. Despite all its flaws and all its reshoots and stuff. But this one is, it's not as good as the early Christopher Reeve ones, with the Donner original. I even like Superman 3 better than this one. I like Superman Returns better than this one. But it's still enjoyable. So that was Superman and Man of Steel. It was a hit, but it wasn't a big hit. People liked it, but kind of like me, it was like, it has potential, but you need to sort certain things, and you need to do things better. So it was kind of a hit, it was a middling hit. It made his money back, it did a bit better than Superman Returns, but not that much better. It was like, Superman was still kind of a bit dicey as a prospect. So the reverential version of Superman, which is Superman Returns, hadn't connected because it wasn't enough action. This film had too much action and wasn't reverential enough. So it was like you have to try and find some middle ground to make it worth its work. But they went a different route. They kept Superman as he was. They didn't try and course correct. Instead they actually ignore some of the problems. And they added Batman. And he cast Ben Affleck as Batman. And for Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. This was meant to be the start of the Justice League, a big DCEU universe. So instead of saying, okay, we better get Superman right, they said to just expand instantly. Because Marvel was making lots of money with lots of different characters in the Avengers movies. Didn't quite work that way this time. So they had Superman and Batman is a fairly understandable figure. Ben Affleck played him. As always, a controversy every time when someone's cast as Batman, because he's not Batman. Affleck was fine as Batman. He was, like Cavill, he had a problem of he never got some of the material that he should have got for the part. But he was really good Bruce Wayne, really good Batman. He put a lot of effort into it. You can't really blame him for the flaws of the film. But the film's flawed, really flawed. I really enjoy it. I'm going by the Ultimate Edition one, which is the 3-hour cut, which I saw in 4K. It's a much better version. Does not solve all the problems of the film, but explains certain things that makes you realise it was better planned than initially you thought, but it's still a mess. And it shows some of Zack Snyder's big flaws in that he is a visual person, he's not a script person, he's not an actor person. Like, he casts good actors, the actors seem to like him, but he doesn't seem to be able to fine-tune the performances very well. If an actor is in a film of his and is not delivering, it just happens to happen, no one seems to adjust it. Like I mentioned Watchmen, the lead actress wasn't right, and it's always a problem with film. It was like, why wasn't this recast, or why didn't you go in and do some work on this, because there's something wrong here. In this case, it actually became much more embarrassing because it was Lex Luthor character was a problem, and he cast someone good. He cast Jesse Eisenberg to play Lex Luthor, and that's good casting. That's really good casting if you write it properly and if you direct him properly. Instead, they let him go off. He's meant to be a character who's very tragic and very conflicted as well as being evil. He's a lot of problems. And so he cast the right actor to do that, but then they just had him mumble stuff all the time and just be quirky. And it was very misjudged. It never quite worked out. It's like you cast someone who's a good actor and you basically let them go and didn't course correct them when they'd gone off a little bit. And it just continued. I still like Eisenberg a lot, and I think he's one of those things where clearer writing and better directing would have saved this performance quite easily. This did not need to be as quirky as it did. And it does feel like they chose the quirkiest line readings. I'm sure he did a lot of line readings, some more normal and some quirkier. And they chose the quirkier ones. But it took away the threat from the film. And you really needed a threatening Lex Luthor. Or someone you sense he was threatening. It just shows that Zack Snyder's not that good with actors like course correcting. It just is a problem. And even the other actors, they seem to have been left alone to do what they can do. I mean, again, Henry Cavill in this one, he's been left alone to be mopey Superman again. And they don't cover that much ground with him. It's just showing him becoming a reporter and showing him becoming concerned about the world he lives in and shouldn't react to concerns people have about him, how he's now a heroic figure, even though the heroic stuff seems to have happened between the movies. Like, you never see him do much heroic stuff. You see him in little montages, but most of the time he's mopey and angry. And you never get to find out what he feels about the fact that he destroyed all the Kryptonians at the end of the last film. That's never brought up. That should be a real traumatising experience for anybody. I had all the people involved in Krypton, they all died. And he's got all the Krypton in his blood, all the DNA to actually build new Kryptonians. And raise them somewhere, or take them somewhere and raise them. Doesn't do anything like that either. He just doesn't do anything. He's just a person in this situation who's mopey because people don't like him, and Batman wants to kill him. And Batman wanting to kill him is the thing that makes most sense. I mean, the Batman in this film is the one that makes complete sense for the first 2/3 of the movie. Superman's an alien who destroyed a city, who destroyed Bruce Wayne's building in Metropolis. He doesn't trust him for a second because he's so much power what he turns evil. And at the point, Batman knew a lot of people who were started out good and became bad over time, just over through life. All that stuff's right. He's ready to go against Superman. It's all understandable. Batman works in this film. Anytime Batman's on screen, the film works. It's a good Batman film and a bad Superman film. Superman does not work. Because they don't write him properly. They don't have a clue what to do with him. It's like, we've got Superman. What does he do? He mopes. And Amy Adams is Lois Lane again. She in this part is like, it's like one of those things like, we're a really good actress here. Why are you not giving her anything for 2 films now? So it's not good in that way. You get Wonder Woman in it, Gal Gadot, who's a first taken Wonder Woman. She's good in this one. She's better in other films as well. It's like she's still working out in this one a little bit, but she's mysterious, very mysterious. The character works fine. Her and Ben Affleck's Batman character have nice chemistry. She's fun. Whenever she's on screen, she's fun as well. But again, she's used for plot a lot of the time, and but still, she's a nice presence in the film. And when she turns up at the end to fight, it's really enjoyable. So again, when Batman and Wonder Woman are on screen, film works. When Superman, it's a problem because they've ignored the most important thing in the film, which is he destroyed his own people in the first one. And if other people were involved and he was going to set up Lex Luthor to fall to be killed by Batman or anyone else, having him also guilty about what happened in the first one would push him over the edge and would be an interesting story. And they completely ignore it. It's completely ignored. The most important thing is completely ignored. The other really bad thing is Doomsday turns up at the end. Luthor creates Doomsday out of Zod's body. It's a final battle from someone who wasn't a threat. And, it's just like you're filming an extra action scene on the end of a film, just for reasons, just so they can kill Superman off for Justice League. So to kill someone off who you don't need to kill off for a plot device, it's a waste of time. It's an enjoyable fight. It's well done, but it's a waste of time. And again, they destroy tons of buildings, and they say, "Oh, these ones are in an abandoned area of the city," so they don't get any crap for blowing up half the city again. Because that was kind of controversial in the first one. It's a fun fight. Zack Snyder shoots fights prettily. It's not very exciting though, because Zack Snyder doesn't shoot action well. He shoots shots well. I can enjoy them. I like a lot of the shots. I can happily watch them, but they're not really exciting. They're stylized. But Batman v Superman's a bit of a mess. But I still enjoy it because I like Batman. The scenes, I like Affleck as Batman. I like Wonder Woman, but it's a mess. The plot doesn't entirely make sense. But the idea of Luthor's manipulating everybody is enjoyable, but it just needs to be cleared up a bit in the plot, the motivations, and I mean, the Ultimate Edition version makes much more sense of why he's doing stuff and why things happen. But it still is a bit messy, and it's just one of those films that are a bit of a mess. You can enjoy it, but you know it's a mess. You know, it feels like it wasn't quite finished, written before they started shooting, and they never quite figured stuff out. And by the time they figured stuff out, it was too late to sort certain things. But it's an enjoyable mess though. Now we have Justice League, the mess of Justice League. This one's infamous. This production is. This is the biggest, messiest production since Schrader's Dominion Exodus prequel, where they reshot half the movie, or any recent Star Wars movie. They seem to be reshooting half the movie. So Zack Snyder came back and they started shooting Justice League just after Batman v Superman was released. So they didn't have time to see what people reacted to and see what they needed to adjust. They went straight into production, so it was their own fault for everything that happened afterwards, because they never stopped to think, okay, maybe we need to adjust certain things. Or they tried to adjust things on set when it was too late because they're already making a movie, they already plugged it all out. And it falls under the cliffhanger where Superman dies, and Batman's guilty, and he's trying to bring together the Justice League, because he knows there's an alien invasion coming. The alien invasion comes with Steppenwolf, and it's basically the Justice League tried to revive Superman, join together, and come together and fight. That's the movie. It's a very simple plot, and there's so much problems with it behind the scenes to start with, because they shot it. They had a few problems with it when they reshoot certain things. Then Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide, so he was incapable of working. You know, it was like there's just no way he could really function. So he stepped down, because it was like, well, he's got to step down. It's like, you know, it's like one of those things. Like, you can't expect anyone to go through that and be able to go back to work. It's like, there's no way. So they brought in Joss Whedon, who was apparently rewriting stuff at the time anyway, and he directed the rest of the reshoots. Which where all the problems started, because it went from being that we need to shoot a couple of scenes just to make it more clear, certain things clearer, to being a case of we need to reshoot half this film to make it much more like Marvel. Because Joss Whedon shot the Avengers movies, the first two, he was a golden boy at the time. And the film that came out was a bloody mess. It was an enjoyable mess. I've seen it, enjoyed it. I'm happy to rewatch it because it is an enjoyable mess. But it's a mess. And it becomes more a mess when you watch it in 4K, because you can see where the reshoots came much more than you could before. I mean, you could tell before where some of them were, but the 4K, the high resolution, you can tell when their effects are done within a few months of release, because there are shots where you can see the green screen separation in 4K that you can maybe hide in 2K and it wouldn't be that bad, but in 4K you can see it. Like, you can see that behind Ben Affleck there's a flat screen pretty much of what would in a norm, what would be a set in 2K now just looks like a painting. And there's tons of things like that that obviously were reshot using bits, maybe like a shot or two that were originally shot, and then they shot the rest of the scene around about it, and there's scene after scene of that, and there's scenes even in the cinema where you saw there was a scene with Cyborg Wonder Woman where they're talking in the street, you could tell this was a fake street. It just looked so fake. And there's tons of scenes where you know they shot something with Zack Snyder and then they added stuff with Joss Whedon at the end, or an insert somewhere to add a joke, because the Flash half his scenes are jokes that Joss Whedon added. You can just tell instantly. Because a lot of time you see Barry Allen the Flash talking off camera. It's really embarrassing to watch. And it doesn't work as a movie because you can tell it's two different directors. They have two different sensibilities. And there's been a lot of controversy what happened behind the scenes in the reshoot. Like, some actors have said that it was a pretty abusive situation. I don't know, I wasn't there. I'm not getting into that. It does not look like it was a fun place to be, from what I've heard, that's all I'm going to say. But the film itself's a mess. Because in 4K you can see the joints. Also you can see scenes that are shot like TV episodes. Like anytime any of the inserts new scenes are shot like it was done really quick on TV, we'll get the character stuff and we'll put the background in later and we'll do it quick. You can see that they were doing like, tons of setups probably really quickly. And the performance aren't there because sometimes actors look like they're glazed over. Like, because they come back like a year, was it 9 months, a year later or something, and some actors don't even look the same. Ben Affleck looks like he's even went and shot another movie in between, and he came back, and he wasn't the same shape as he was in for the original shoot of it, and you can tell with him, and he looks more intense in some scenes and more invested in other scenes. He's trying his best, but he's like, so that's quite a few actors have that look of someone who do not want to be there, who really don't want to be there, because they've changed so much, and you feel there's so many scenes thrown in there that feel very Joss Whedon-y and are try to be cute, and they're not. And it's like, because you try to throw in scenes into a film that's already been established, or torn by someone else, and if you watch the first two films, no matter what you think of them, they're setting up for something which isn't delivered, so you're thinking, well, I just waste all this time watching these two movies and then get the ending. You know? Which hopefully we'll get with the Zack Snyder cut. But I'm sure it'll be just as flawed and as daft as the other two. But I kind of like those flawed and daft ones, because they're obviously made by some guy who wanted to make this particular movie. And despite all the flaws, they're very much Zack Snyder movies. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, because the Justice League one, obviously because Joss Whedon did the Avengers movies, I thought, oh, you know, with magic touch to add some humour to us, but you can't add humour when there's no humour there, or when the situation is much darker, or you shouldn't have actors on the sea lines that are out of character for where they've been within the story. Because the Batman doesn't seem like Batman in this film. It feels like he's gone from like Frank Miller to Val Kilmer type of style of a kind of a brilliant version to a version that's making tons of jokes, and it doesn't really feel the same character, even if it's the same actor playing it, and it's like, it doesn't really work. The best person in the film was Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. She just came off her movie, it was a big hit, and she's still confident, she still knows what she's doing. It's the most sympathetic character in the film by a mile. Batman's not meant to be sympathetic in this film anyway, but it's an actor trying his best in a bad situation. The Flash is fun for what he is, but he's kind of trying. Cyborg was barely in it. He's meant to be a massive part in the original version, and his character was cut down to almost nothing in this film. He basically stands there and delivers exposition, or delivers really obvious commentary on a situation that's not very interesting to watch. And Aquaman's there. Aquaman is a fun supporting character in this film, that's it. He doesn't have much of an arc. Yeah, I feel his arc's been gutted as well. Like there's much more that was gutted out of that. Every character feels with half the stuff pulled out of the film. Which since they're going to be a 4-hour version of this film coming out soon, that obviously was the case. It's just like so much there. And then you go to the action scene at the end, and there's lots of stuff going on. And some of it feels very Zack Snyder, but you feel there's should have a build up to it that's not there. And there's always a sense of that it's build up, then stops, then you just do this action, and it's like the pacing's all off. But it is a kind of weird, interesting mess. But there's one bit that's really bad until they reshot it, where they bring back Superman, where they're going from a very Zack Snyder shot to suddenly there's Joss Whedon talking, and then when Superman comes back, it looks very much like a Zack Snyder moment because it seems way too stylized for a Joss Whedon thing. And it's just this weird mix, and there's lots of stuff at the end that feels is very Zack Snyderish that doesn't seem to fit in with some of the other stuff, and it's like you're watching this unholy monster. It doesn't work. And Steppenwolf is the worst CGI ever, and he does no threat to him at all. Because apparently they made a different design. They changed the design to give him a face, and the face looks so fake. You wish you just left the mask on. Because you see the exact same version of them with just a mask. It's meant to be intimidating because you can't see behind the mask. Which is a better attitude, actually, for someone who's meant to be thousands of years old. Now you have this guy in a mask who's really boring. So yeah, there's lots of stuff that just seems to be left out. There's just bits within moments always keep the other version that are now throwing me jokes, and it's like this just doesn't work. And it's just shot so pedestrian. And whenever you see with Zack Snyder, he's not pedestrian, he's a show off. So two mismatched styles. Like they didn't even try and match styles. That's how bad it was. So it's a mess. It's a complete mess. But it's worth talking about because it's such a mess. And that's why I thought I'd talk about it, because it's a weird, weird film. So I hope you enjoyed this. I just thought I don't have much more videos this week at the moment because as I said, I had my computer crashed and I'm having to reset everything up just now, and I haven't really watched much. I mean, the only thing I really watched was these movies, the Superman movies, because I just wanted something silly while I was dealing with tech problems. So I'll be back soon with some more videos. I've got Kubrick videos planned. I've got Peter Watkins stuff planned to do. We're starting the Ronin stuff with the Bergman series. So there's a lot planned. I just need to get back to watching stuff now. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll be back soon.